Good game, number 394. Hello everybody and welcome back to another Magic the Gathering Arena video. Today we're going to do things a little bit differently first because there has been a new release of Alchemy cards. The Wilds of Eldraine Alchemy or Alchemy 24 have been released, so I'm going to do a quick run through of the new cards. Doing it at the start of this video just because there's not that many of them. We'll have a quick look through, see what new cards there are, and then we'll dive straight into the next deck, which is back in Alchemy. So without further ado, Dedicated Dollmaker is a 2/2 Dwarf Artificer for 1 and a white, so for 2, it's a rare. When Dedicated Dollmaker enters the battlefield, exile up to one of the target non-land, non-token permanent. So either ours or the opponent's, and any non-lands, it could be enchantments, artifacts, etc. Its controller creates a token that's a copy of it, except it's not legendary and it's an artifact in addition to its other types. And then it has 1 and a white, tokens you control gain indestructible till end of turn, and then this little sort of alchemy thing, activate only once. So this is a very interesting card, isn't it? Because it allows us to clone a legendary thing. So where I see this like in my head initially is something like with Mandric or whatever it's called, the one that gives you 2 tokens, because you could basically like exile your Sheldred, create 2 Sheldreds, you know, that type of thing. So I think there's going to be some interesting decks and interesting ideas to play around with this one. Yeah, definitely looks like an interesting card, and I think there's going to be all sorts of like fun interactions with this. It reminded me a little bit also of, you know, you could exile the 3 Blind Mice card that just came out, which can create a copy of a token, which could then copy itself. I think I've seen some people do similar things with Tamiyo. So yeah, there's potentially a deck there as well. So this is definitely going to have some little interesting interactions. There's an interesting effect that we haven't really seen around, so yeah, I think this one's going to be a fun card to play with. Next is the Porcine Portent. So this is a 4-costing enchantment, it's a rare. When it enters the battlefield, conjure a card of your choice from the 3 Pigs spellbook onto the battlefield. Boars you control get +1/+1. Now I love the theming of this, look at the art on it, it's so good. So the 3 Pigs spellbook is, there are 3 pigs in it, which is the first little pig, second little pig, and the third little pig. The first is a 2/2 which has for 1 and a green, that has 1 and a green, exile target artifact or enchantment, activate only once. Now the pigs all exist as standalone cards in this set as well, so we'll just cover them off now. So being able to exile target artifact or enchantment, I guess this has sort of been put in as a direct answer to the One Ring, because you kind of have the flexibility to choose it if you want, but you don't have to. So I quite like this as an ability. Activate only once, or typically getting rid of the 1 ring once is enough. So yeah, good little card. Second little pig is 1 and a white black. It's 2/3. Has an ability which costs 4. Second little pig perpetually becomes a boar spirit with base power and toughness 4/4 and gains flying. Activate only if second little pig isn't a spirit, so you can only really do it once. Yeah, I suppose 2/3 to 4/4, so you're paying 4 to gain 3 stats worth. It's not that great. It does also gain flying. It's a bit of like a mana dump later if you've not got anything else to do with it. So less convinced by second little pig. And then third little pig is 1 a black and a green for a 2/2, and whenever you conjure 1 or more other cards, third little pig perpetually gets +1/+1. This also triggers if third little pig is in your graveyard, so that's an interesting effect. I like it because I feel like building around conjuring stuff is a fun alchemy deck that we're going to have to try at some point. So back to the Porcine Portent. It lets us put one of these onto the battlefield, basically, so we can select which one we want. So it's likely to be first little pig if they've got artifacts or enchantments, this if it's later game, this if we've got other conjury type effects in the deck. And then it gets +1/+1, so it'll be either a 3/3 or a 3/4 if it's the second little pig. That's not all, because it also has an adventure, which is exile target creature, you gain 1 life for each boar you control. So exile target creature for 3 at instant speed is a pretty decent removal. I mean, I can't think of another exile a flat exile that's that good, and it's got a little bit of upside, 1 life for each boar. I mean, I doubt that's going to gain us loads of life. It's probably not a big life gain synergy deck, given that none of the boars seem to have life gain synergy. But I think this is a pretty decent card. It's got quite a lot of value in it. 4 is a bit expensive for the enchantment, but given that it's got this adventure built in, this looks pretty decent as well to me. Next is Cerise, the Slayer of Fear. So Cerise is a 5 costing rare, legendary human cleric knight. It's got lots of sort of relevant types, but being a 5-drop, it's a 5/5 with first strike and lifelink. So my immediate thought is 5 costing for 5/5 seems expensive. At the beginning of your post-combat main phase, if you gain life this turn, seek a card with the highest mana value among cards in your library with mana value less than or equal to the life you gain. So if we gain 5 life, it would seek us a 5 cost from our deck if there was one, basically. And if we gain 4, it would seek us a 4 costing one. So you can kind of almost card select stuff out of your deck if you had like a way of choosing how much life you gain, like probably more applicable for the lower amounts. So for example, if you had down Lunarch Veteran, you play this, you know you're going to get another Lunarch Veteran, that kind of thing. But I don't know if there is any particular use for that. It seems expensive to me. I mean, 5/5 first strike lifelink is obviously quite good, but with things that go for the throat, so available. Don't know, big creatures that don't do something immediately when they come in, and just pulling out a random card is not that great, is it? Probably not going to see a lot of play this one, although I do like the effect, it is fun. The next is our first mythic, so this is the Stormkeld Curator, a 6 costing giant. When it enters the battlefield, you may put any number of auras from your graveyard and or hand onto the battlefield attached to it. So, but it also has, so we'll cover the adventure as well, it's double blue and X for an instant. Conjure X random cards from Giant Secrets Spellbook into your hand. Giant Secrets is, okay, because the name of the adventure is Giant Secrets. And that basically has a load of auras in it. So it's going to basically drop the Stormkeld Curator as a big thing with loads of auras attached to it. It's got all the glitter, which is good. It buffs you for other auras and ethereal armor. That's nice. Are there anything that gives hexproof? Because that's kind of, this one gives 1/1 flying vigilance and lifelink. That's interesting. Okay, so there is a curator's ward that gives hexproof. So in theory, when it comes in, you could have given it hexproof, but it's 13 cards in this spellbook. So you're going to have wanted to conjure like a good 4 or 5 of them into your hand to get a good odds of getting this thing. Oh wow, 6 costing 1, +3/+3, and it deals combat damage to a player, double its controller's life total. It's a bit memey, but it's fun. Interesting. Enter the battlefield, choose a creature. Enchanted creature is a copy of the chosen creature. So there's a potential sort of combo thing going on here. If we can have a creature with haste, preferably like flying and haste, and we've managed to get a metamorphic alteration, this thing could come in and one-shot our opponents. Ether Tunnel, can't be blocked, meh. Okay, and then some sort of junky ones. So yeah, I love the design again. Really interesting idea. You conjure a load of auras into your hand. You could even play some particularly good auras if there are some in Alchemy. We'll have to have a dig through. And then yeah, like use it as a big smasher. The problem's going to be is if it doesn't have haste because you've copied something, because the creature doesn't naturally have haste, copied something with this, then it's going to need hexproof or some way of surviving a turn so that you can then get it through, which then makes it a very clunky top end. I mean, it does cost 6 for a 6/6, and it is a mythic, so I'm going to say probably a bit of a meme card rather than a good card, but there's definitely some fun potential for weird combos here. Next is onto the blue cards. So there's only 4 white cards. I think there's 4 of each. I don't know, 4 or 5 of each. Tome of Gadwick is a blue rare equipment. When equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, conjure a random card from Tome of Gadwick's spellbook into your hand. So this is a 1 cost with equip 1, and all of the stuff in its spellbook are basically different decent cantrips of some kind. Cantrip being a card that draws you cards. So these cards typically are going to be the kind of things you want in like a Haughty Djinn deck, so maybe the Tome of Gadwick would do well in a Haughty Djinn deck to make sure you've always got cards. But then on the other hand, equipment's famously bad, right? Because, yeah, they just kill the creature it's attached to. I don't know. Maybe we could try this in like a mono blue or something like that. But to me, it feels a bit naff. Next is Path of Tuinvale, 1 and a blue for an instant. This is uncommon. Choose one or both. Return target creature you control to its owner's hand. It costs 1 less perpetually. And return target creature you don't control to its owner's hand. That perpetually gains this spell, costs 1 more to cast. This is quite a little interesting little card, isn't it? Because if we've got a decent end to the battlefield abilities, being able to sort of bounce our opponent's stuff back, it's like a real tempo card, really, because it's making their stuff cost more, our stuff costs less. We could save things with it. We could bounce stuff with the aim of like bouncing it again in future because it perpetually costs less. So things like, I don't know, the 3-costing human that can bounce the opponent's stuff. Like we could constantly be sending their stuff back to their hand whilst developing our board, or using enter the battlefield effects. Yeah, I think there's going to be some interesting stuff to do with this as well. As an uncommon, it's definitely worth trying out in some decks. Next is Talion's Throne Guard. This is a 4-costing rare fairy wizard. This is a 2/1. It's got flush, bargain, and flying, so it's got some keywords. And when it enters the battlefield, return up to 1 target spell or non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If the Throne Guard was bargained, it perpetually... Okay, so more like bounce stuff back to our owner's hand and its owner's hand and make it cost more. I feel like there's a little bit of synergy between these two cards. So there's probably going to be a blue tempo deck out there somewhere with these going on. Maybe even mono blue tempo if we throw in the Tome of Gaddock, but I feel like that's probably a bit too slow for the type of sort of, with tempo you want to be deploying something each turn, really. But there's definitely something going on with these two. The Conundrum of Bowls is a 4-costing rare saga. 1, seek a card with mana value less than the number of cards in your hand. 2, seek a card with mana value greater than the number of cards in your hand. And 3, count the number of cards in your hand. You may cast a spell with mana value equal to that number from your hand without paying its mana cost. It's a very interesting card again. I mean, they've come up with some really neat ideas for this set, which is what I always like about the Alchemy cards. Anyways, they always come up with really interesting ideas. So I guess when I first read this, seeking a card with less than the number of things in your hand is going to be quite weird and hard to use too well. But number 2, if this is your top end card, apart from one other thing, so let's say, some sort of 5 or 6 drop card, you could probably guarantee that you'll have 5 or 6 cards in your hand to play it for free. But it is like 2 turns, 3 turns after you play this, 2 turns after you play this card. So it's just a bit slow, isn't it? It's slow, but good value. So potentially has some use, but yeah, don't know. I mean, I love the flavour, and I'll definitely be trying it out myself. Yeah, that's all I can say about this one. It sort of feels like it pairs a bit well with the blue Jin Cataxius as well, which draws you more cards and does stuff in a number of things in your hand when you flip it. Yeah, there's potential there. This land, Loch Laren, is an uncommon land. Enters the battlefield tapped, add blue, and then it has 1 and a blue, tap, scry 3. Target opponent gets a 1-time boom. If when you cast a creature spell, that creature enters the battlefield tapped and with a stun counter on it. Activate only during your turn and only once. So the stun counter thing and only once. I mean, enter tapped is painful, right? Because it sounds like this type of thing, like making their creatures come in tapped and not untap, is a very tempo-y thing to do. But if we're playing a tempo deck, the last thing we want is our own lands coming in tapped. So it's a bit of a nombo in itself, but I'll have to try this out to see how good it is. Scry 3 isn't to be sniffed at as well. Dumbarrow Revivalist is a 1 and a black for a human warlock, 3/1 with bargain. This is uncommon as well, so nice. When it enters the battlefield, you get a 1-time boon with when 1 or more creatures enter the battlefield under your control, create a Wicked Roll token attached to one of them. Then, if Dumbarrow Revivalist was bargain, return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Okay, so we could buff the next thing when it enters the battlefield, so 3 drops we're primarily thinking of, putting Wicked Rolls on them, so my brain goes to playing things with Ward, or things where we care about its power. or toughness levels. So maybe things like Phyrexian Fleshgorger. It's got, you know, it could be a ward 4 life when it comes in, that kind of thing. That if they kill, they lose 1 more life. Yeah, I mean, it's got some potential applications in like black aggro. The fact that it's a bargain enabler as well, because it creates a wicked roll token, which you could then play another Revivalist, sack that roll token, and bring a creature back from your graveyard. Like, yeah, I think this card seems quite interesting. And as a 3/1, it's not without power, so yeah, definitely be experimenting with this. I think it's quite a like aggro-y shell. I would say this would be really good with Rite of Oblivion if that was still allowed, but sadly that has rotated out, so I'll have to find other things to sack the wicked roll tokens. 5 costing 5/4 Ogre Warlock at Mythic. It has Death Touch. When it enters the battlefield, you get a 1-time boon with, at the beginning of your end step, if 3 or more creatures died this turn, each opponent loses 5 life and you gain 5 life. At the beginning of your end step, if you have a boon, you mill 3 cards, draw a card, and lose 2 life. What is this card? First read through, this sounds awful to me. 5/4 Death Touch for 5 is not that good. This boon, you have to have 3 or more creatures die to trigger it, and then it does a good effect. I mean, 10 life swing is obviously good, but what I'm struggling from reading at the beginning of your end step, it just says if, right? So on the turn you play this, do you also have to remove 3 creatures? Like, does the boon resolve it says no, you didn't? Or does the boon stay? I was a bit confused by whether the boon would go or stay when Underbridge Warlock comes in. I think it's going to go, right? It's a 1-time boon that says at the beginning of your end step. It doesn't, you know, it then does it something if, but that's just an if for the effect, not for whether it triggers. So I reckon that's going to go, which makes it sound really bad. Maybe it doesn't. If you have a boon, you mill, so you're also going to mill 3, draw a card, and lose 2 life. Lose 2 life, I mean, that effect kind of normally loses 1, and it mills 3. Like, I must be missing something here. I can't see what this card is good for, and it's a mythic. That seems a bit dangerously bad to me. The Accident Prone Apprentice is 1 and a red Otter. Wizards are into the reds now, so this is an Izzet card for a 1/1. It is a wizard, which is a relevant type in Alchemy because of the... there's a wizard spell, I can't remember what it's called, 1 a red and a blue, which lets you draw and deal 5 damage to a creature, which is a really strong spell. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it perpetually gets +1/+1. This ability also triggers if it's in exile, so it would be in exile obviously if we've used its Adventure First, which is a 1 and a blue instant. Until end of turn, target creature loses all abilities and becomes a blue frog with base power and toughness 1. So it's kind of a combat trick, the Amphibian Accident. So in my head, I mean, you could make it smaller and then use another instant sorcery on it to kill it, like the one that does 1 damage and you draw a card or something. But yeah, there's going to be some applications for this card. It's obviously got quite a lot of options and power for an Izzet card. Given that it's a wizard as well, I'm sure it'll find its way into some decks. Whether being 1/1 or not is good enough, don't know. Probably. Heir to Dragonfire is 1 and a red rare human warlock 2/2 that has the fire breathing effect. So Heir to Dragonfire gets +1/+0 until end of turn for 1 red, so we can dump our mana in and do more damage with it. It also has pay 2 and a red, so pay 3, reveal Heir to Dragonfire from your hand. It perpetually becomes a dragon. It gets 3/3 and gains flying. So this is really interesting because it could be a 5/5 flying for 5 effectively, but we can presumably do this multiple times. So we can keep giving it 3/3 in our hand, and then drop it for 2. So maybe there's some kind of like fling deck or something that we could do with this. I don't know, like my brain's just going to funny places. It's definitely got some interesting potential. Next is Overcooked, which is a mythic enchantment for 3 in red. Players can't gain life, so stop Sheldred players gaining their life. Celebration. At the beginning of your end step, create a food token. If 2 or more non-land permanents enter the battlefield under your control this turn, instead conjure a card named Food Fight onto the battlefield. And Food Fight is the enchantment that came out in Standard, which artifact you control have pay 2, sack it, deals 1 plus a number of permanents named Food Fight. That's a really fun, this is really fun, isn't it? A fun little ability. So you build up your foods, and then if you've managed to trigger Celebration, which bear in mind you only have to have one other thing enter the battlefield. So the turn this comes in, it's going to create itself, create a food token, then, no it won't, because it's instead create a food fight. So yeah, you'll need to play this and something else. But yeah, very interesting ability. Definitely going to be some interesting build around opportunities for that. Victory of the Pyrohammer, 5 costing red saga. Victory of Pyrohammer deals 4 damage to each creature in each planeswalker. It gains damage isn't removed from creatures during cleanup steps. So it's going to deal the 4, it then won't get removed. It then deals 1 more on the next 2 turns to each creature and planeswalker. A 5 costing sweeper that doesn't kill Sheldred in 1 turn. It's just not as good as like Burn Down the House, is it? I mean, what's the advantage of playing this? I mean, I don't think you could play Burn Down the House actually in Alchemy anymore due to rotation, but I don't know. There must be an application for this. It just seems a bit meh to me. I mean, maybe very situational to like clear up like the rats that come out or something when you kill them or something. I don't know. Can't see an application for this one. Draconic Debut is a red and an X sorcery uncommon. Deal X damage to any target. So it's like a fireball. Did that, but it also has the next dragon spell you cast costs X less. That's an interesting effect, right? Because it's a sorcery to any target, so leftover mana can go to the opponent's face if we want to. It could be used to kill battles, such as the Invasion of Tarkir, and the next dragon spell we cast costs X less, which is going to be an effect that I believe just sits around, because it's alchemy, it will sit around like a boon until we cast a dragon spell. So my brain here is sort of going to Shivian Devastator, where it's X and red to put X counters on the 0/0, because the more we can pay for this, the more counters we get for free on the Devastator, basically. So there'll definitely be us trying to make a deck around that at some point. Hexed Kellen's Companion is 1 and a green for a legendary creature dog with haste. Whenever you cast an adventure spell, if Hexed Kellen's Companion is on the battlefield or in exile, perpetually gets +1/+1. Then, if it's on the battlefield, exile it with a fetch counter on it. Whenever you cast okay, so it comes back in when you cast the other side of the adventure. I just don't think adventures are strong enough for this to be good. My feeling is that this is rubbish, but I'd love to be proven wrong, because I like the lore of getting your dog to go and fetch something. Golden Opportunity is a 3 costing rare saga. Conjure a card named Gilded Goose onto the battlefield, which was always a good card, but it's a good card for 1, not for 3. You may tap an untapped bird and sacrifice an artifact. If you do, conjure a card named Golden Egg onto the battlefield. Golden Egg being this common enchantment which draws you a card and can change your mana colour or gain 3 life. I really don't get this card. It seems atrocious to me for a rare. If there are loads of birds around, I guess it could be a bit better, but what this is going to be used for, I have no idea. Swine Rebellion is a 3 costing rare sorcery. If you control 3 or more boars with different names, so in other words, if you control the 3 little pigs, I don't know if there are other boars in Alchemy or not, but probably not, conjure each card from the 3 pig spellbook onto the battlefield. So if you already have 1 of each, you get 1 more of each. If you control 2 or fewer, so all other times, you conjure 2 cards from your choice into your hand. So you still get the 3 cards, but 2 go into your hand and 1 go onto the battlefield. So quite good card value if you've got something to do with all your pigs. Maybe in a deck with the Porcelain Portent. So you're already looking at 3 colours trying to run these 2 cards. Maybe some kind of Abzan Boars deck, but experience tells me that decks like that are always going to be a bit memey and not very good. Steady Tortoise is a 5 costing uncommon 3/3 turtle with ward 2, and whenever you attack, it perpetually gets +1/+1. This ability also triggers if it's in exile. So if we have used its sorcery adventure, which costs 1 red, it creates a 1/1 white rabbit which gains haste until end of turn. So we can create the rabbit, attack, and then by the time we get to 5 mana, this thing will be like an 8/8 or something, probably, with ward 2 for 5. So it's not a bad card. Obviously 5 is expensive, but it does have ward 2. I'd be more impressed if the Steady Tortoise itself had haste, but since we've got no Halana and Alina to give it haste anymore, and no trample, Yeah, it could be interesting, but in the right deck, so it's worth a try. But it just feels like 5 is expensive. The second little pig we've covered, the High Fae Prankster, is a 2 and a blue and a black for a 1/4 fairy rogue, 4 costing fairy rogue, flying and death touch. When it enters the battlefield, choose up to 1. Perpetually exchange target creature's base power with another target creature's base power. That is a weird effect. My brain immediately goes to like, are there things that are unblockable and cheap, but with 1 power that we can make unblockable and cheap with like 6 or 7 power? Probably. Or you could do its power. It's a 4/1 instead of a 1/4 basically. For 4 though, it's only bringing a total of 5 stats onto the battlefield, which is pretty low for 4. But with this perpetually exchange base power thing, I mean, it's got some weird combo potential, hasn't it? Outfitted Jouster is 2 a black and a red for a 2/2 knight, rare. It enters the battlefield, conjure a card named Steel Claw Lance and Brawler's Plate onto the battlefield and attach them to the Jouster. If damage would be dealt to it while it's equipped, prevent that damage. When damage is prevented this way, sacrifice an equipment attached to it. So it comes in with this, which gives +2/+2 and +2/+2 and trample. So it's a 6/6 trample effectively for 4, which is good stats. But sacrificing equipment on it, yeah, knights in the Rakdos knight colours. I don't know. I mean, it sounds not awful, but equipment is just famously awful, so it probably is awful. Third little pig, the Jewel Mine Overseer. This one looks really fun. What I read in a white for a 3/3 human noble mythic. When it enters the battlefield, conjure 7 cards named 7 dwarves on top of your library. They perpetually gain. When this creature enters the battlefield, draw a card, which is a nice ability for them to have. Then shuffle. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. Wow, that is a lot of value in 1 card. So it's kind of got the bird that shuffles the power 9 into your deck, Oracle of the Alpha effect, but it's shuffling 7 dwarves in. Now the 7 dwarves, whilst they, the power 9, some are very high power and some are very awful, whereas the 7 dwarves are all creatures that are going to draw you more cards. I mean, that's pretty good. And at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top and you may play it this turn. It pairs well with the Thopter generating creature, PNLR, or Rocco, the one that creates the foods and exile stuff as well. So definitely some interesting potential with this and definitely worth trying out. First little pig, and then Sir Joshua and Sir Saxon is a green and a white 2/3 human knight legendary creature with double team. Double team on a legend is interesting because if you control exactly 2 legendary creature permanents named Sir Joshua and Sir Saxon, the legend rule doesn't apply. So you can have 2 copies of this out. Each other creature you control named Sir Joshua and Sir Saxon has Battle Cry. Battle Cry being whenever it attacks, each other attacking creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. So if you have 2 of these, they'll both be 2/3s that when you attack, all your creatures get +2/+0. If you only have 1, it's just a 2/3. And obviously you conjure a second copy with the double team, but trying to keep 2 alive when they can be cut down, maybe in some kind of like green-white human legends deck or something, but feels a little bit weak. Grow old together, 1 a green and a blue for an instant uncommon. Seek 2 creature cards from among the top 10 cards in your library, then shuffle. So basically draw 2 creatures. In the right deck, creature cards in your hand perpetually get +1/+1. Yeah, if you've got other stuff to do at instant speed, so counter spells, but then why have you got creature spells? I don't know. It could be good, but I can't think of a shell off the top of my head. Drover of the Swine. Okay, so here's the Abzan payoff for swines, maybe. It's a 5 costing 5/5 human warlock. When it enters the battlefield, choose 1. You can conjure one of the boars onto the battlefield, or you can return 3 boar creatures from your graveyard to the battlefield. Now, being able to bring back boars potentially has some use because you could have played them all as individual cards, but they're not that great as individual cards, so bringing them back isn't that helpful. If there was like some huge boar in Alchemy, then maybe this would be good, but are there any? This thing, no. That one's alright. There's not really any boars. There's not really any boars around that we can reanimate, and even so, for 5, not that great. I'm sure there are in Historic or so, but this doesn't feel amazing to me. Maybe when you pair it with the Porcine Portent and Swine Rebellion, there's a deck brewing here, but it feels a little underpowered compared to some of the just mono blacks and things out there. And last but not least is the Captivating Crossroads, which is the replacement for Forsaken Crossroads, which is rotated out. This is during the first 3 turns of the game, enters the battlefield tapped if you were the starting player, so that nice kind of effect to try and balance the starting player thing out again. And when it enters the battlefield, choose a colour, add 1 mana of the chosen colour. So it doesn't have the scry that Forsaken Crossroads has, but it's a lot less likely to come in tapped. Yeah, I mean, this is the only one that I can guarantee, say, you're going to need to craft 4 of out of all the cards. So what I would say is definitely some interesting cards in here, but I can't see anything like wildly overpowered that is a must craft immediately, and this one's probably the most interesting in terms of combo potential in the deck, and this one's obviously pretty good as well, just due to its sort of multi-value approach. And maybe this thing, Excellent Prone Apprentice, is my kind of uncommon star. It looks like it's got some interesting sort of abilities. Otherwise, it's going to be, let's play around with them and see how strong they are. Okay, moving on to the deck that we're going to be playing today. So, first things first, yes, I am not playing any of the new cards in my main deck. The reason being is that I built this deck just before the set came out. So, we're going to play it. Because the reason I built this is because I knew about the 2 nerfs that were happening in the set, which is that the 1 ring now costs 1 mana to activate. The 1 ring. So previously, have I still got this ticked? Yes. So previously, how could this bring... Oh, okay, here it is, the 1 ring. Previously, you could tap this as soon as you played it and start drawing cards with it. Now, if you play this on curve on turn 4, you're still going to get protection for everything, which is obviously good, but it's going to take you 1 more turn to be able to activate it, which I think is a pretty big deal. I think we should see this played less, at least not in every single deck. It'll only be in the decks where it's more relevant, so I think therefore it's a good nerf. But also, and the biggest nerf was to Orcish Bowmasters, so this is the 1/1 with flash that did bring in 1 other creature when it came in. It now does not do that. They've removed the enters the battlefield ability on this, so it's only when we draw additional cards now that this is good, i.e. it is not good against this deck. We don't draw additional cards in this deck. We have this 1 effect on Ajani which puts stuff into our hand, so this basically used to prevent any small creatures at all existing, which was really, really annoying. And now that this is removed and they don't get a free blocker, I think small aggressive creature decks are going to be better again, and hence why we are playing SELESNYA counters. Now, SELESNYA counters has been around a little while. There were some new cards that came out in Lord of the Rings which we'll cover that will make this deck quite good. But I feel like it's going to be really well positioned in the meta at the moment, because I think a lot of people are still going to be coming to terms with the nerfs to those 2 cards. I think there's going to be more like aggro decks out there, and this is quite good against aggro because our creatures get big quickly. So what are we playing? Enduring Bondwarden, a nice common, a white 1 costing Human Scout, 0/1 backup 1. So in other words, this is actually a 1/2 if you play it on turn 1. When it dies, put its counters on target creature you control. Well, being able to put its counters on, which is nice. A 1/2 is not bad stats, and we have lots of counter synergy in this deck. Starting with the Dusk Legion Duelist, so this thing is absolutely incredible. A 1 and a white, 2/2 Vigilance. Whenever 1 or more 1/1 counters are put on it, draw a card. Triggers only once each turn. So if our Bondwarden dies, we put its counter on the Duelist, we draw a card. There's loads of ways we're going to put counters on stuff, so this should be drawing us lots of cards. It's basically a must kill for our opponents, and in deck building we want either must kills or remove our opponent's must kills, and this is definitely one of those. Invasion of Gobakhan is the 3 costing siege. Now, when it enters the battlefield, we can take something out of our opponent's hand to make it cost 2 more. So we're removing our opponent's threats, which is really good for this type of deck. If they've got board wipes, I'm thinking Sunfalls. Depopulate is actually rotated out of Alchemy, which is making low curve creature decks even better, because that was the cheapest board wipe available to them. Now they have to wait to 5 mana, I believe, for Sunfall. There is the 3 costing one that like kills all things with power 3 or greater, but I've really never seen anyone playing that. That would be good against this deck. And this transforms into the Light Shield Ray, which puts 1/1 counters on each creature that attack this turn and can save all of our creatures by giving them hexproof and indestructible. So this is a really, really solid effect in a deck like this, where we can end up having to protect all of our creatures from board wipes or from removal, spot removal, but in the meantime it's going to grow our creatures for us. So the key will always be, as we're playing this deck, turn 1 Bondwarden if we have it, turn 2 any creature, turn 3 probably Gobakhan, and then we try and flip it that turn if possible, or that turn or the next turn. 4 Ossification for some removal. 2 Fall of Gil-galad. Now this is a 1 and a green rare from Lord of the Rings that I didn't really cover at all in any decks previously, but in this kind of deck it's perfect because it's 1 Scry 2. Scrying is actually really useful in this type of deck because we need to draw our lands, but we also need to not draw lands if we've already got too many. Also, there is a kind of like, you almost want one of each thing in this deck. Once you've got 1 Dusk Legion Duelist down, that's kind of enough. If you feel like it's going to be removed, you want to get more. If you haven't got a Siege Veteran or a way of putting counters on stuff, you want to get that. So you kind of can find... What I'm trying to say is there's kind of things that put counters on things and there's things that benefit from having counters put on them. And we kind of want to find the one we don't have, and that's why scrying is useful. 2, you put 2 1/1 counters on creature you control, so this is also a counter placer itself. And then 3, until end of turn, target creature you control gains. Whenever this dies, draw 2 cards, which can be very relevant, but then it fights one other creature. Now our creatures are almost always going to be bigger than other people's creatures, so this is kind of scry 2, make our creature bigger, then remove one of their creatures, which is very good value for 2 mana. We have 2 copies of the Ozolith, which puts extra counters on things when they're getting put on. It can also put counters on them itself. And then one of our real powerhouses is the Botanical Brawler. So this is the green and the white 0/0. The biggest thing about this is it has trample. Whenever we put 1/1 counter on another permanent, we also put 1 on the Brawler. So because we're putting counters on all our stuff, we never directly target the Brawler. We always put our counters on the other things, and the Brawler itself will then grow. Note that Brawler is a great card in multiples because as soon as we play another Brawler, our other Brawlers will grow. Siege Veteran for putting the counters out. It does also have a bit of synergy in the fact that the Dusk Legion Duelist is a soldier, but unfortunately nothing else in our deck is a soldier, so it is just there for its counter placing ability, but it's so reliable and so regular that it's a must remove for our opponent and therefore gets included. We do have soldiers available from Archangel Elspeth, but sadly they are tokens and this only creates more soldiers for non-token soldiers when they die. We're running 2 of the Simian Simulacrum. This is the 3 costing 2/1 ape. When it enters the battlefield, we put 2 1/1 counters on target creature you control. The reason I'm running 2 of this is that it's a good counter placer because it puts 2 counters, and also it can be unearthed and do it again. The reason that can be helpful is if we run out of counter generators, for example, the Siege Veterans, the Fall of Gil-galads, Clay Champions, Elspeths, whatever, we can unearth this, place counters on a Dusk Legion Duelist and try and draw some more. So it's kind of a refueler for the deck. That's the idea of it anyway. A nice thing about this, incidentally, is it is an artifact creature, so if our opponent's running Go for the Throat, they can't remove this. It's worth bearing in mind against black decks. We're also running one of the new powerhouses for this type of deck, which is Arwen Mortal Queen. So this is 1 a white and a green for a 2/2 elf noble legendary. When it enters the battlefield with an indestructible counter on it. Now there's almost no indestructible around at the moment, which makes Arwen quite unique because she could block forever until we remove her indestructible counter or until she gets exiled. Pay 1, remove an indestructible counter for Arwen. Another target creature gains indestructible until end of turn. So we could save another creature for 1 mana. Put a 1/1 counter and a lifelink counter on that creature, and a 1/1 counter and a lifelink counter on Arwen. So this actually distributes 2 1/1 and lifelink counters. So great for Botanical Brawler, because this could actually put 2 counters on 2 other creatures like herself and Dusk Legion Duelist, which would then add 2 more to Brawler as well. She could then save the Duelist and give it lifelink, for example. So there's all sorts of nice synergies with this card in the deck. 3 Archangel Elspeth is also quite key in the deck. So this is the 4 costing Planeswalker, can create a 1/1 soldier, less useful, but what we really like about this is it gets +2 1/1 counters on target creature, which also becomes an angel and gains flying. So the problem with our deck is that we can get a bit stuck behind stuff, because apart from the Botanical Brawler, nothing has trample, and we don't have any ways of giving it trample, but this we have a way of giving it flying. So if our Duelist is really big but we can't get it through because the opponent has loads of little blockers, we could just give it flying, draw a card, and then smash them for a load of damage. 2 of Ajani, the Sleeper Agent. So this I actually am growing to like it because it's only good in this deck basically. It's a 4 costing 4/4, it can be played for 3, but bear in mind if you play it for 3 and 2 life you won't be able to -3 straight away, so we're almost always going to be playing this for 4. And then we're almost always going to be -3ing it straight away to distribute 3 1/1 counters on 3 target creatures. Very nice with Brawler. What Brawler likes is us to put counters on multiple different creatures rather than all on one, hence this is less good of a synergy with this than this. They gain vigilance until end of turn. Part of our issue can be that if we're cracking our opponents with our big creatures, we're leaving ourselves open, but giving them all vigilance is very nice. Note that the Dusk Legion Duelist does already have vigilance, so potentially less useful synergy there, but it will draw us a card if we put a counter on it, so still worth it. And then if it survives after we've -3 it, we can start plussing it to draw creatures or planeswalkers off the top of our deck. Note that it isn't actually strict to draw either, it's just if it's a creature, put it into your hand, so it's still good against things like Sheldred or Bowmasters. And finally we're running 1 copy of Clay Champion, just because this is a 4 costing 2/2 when it enters the battlefield with 3 1/1 counters on it for each green spent to cast it, and it can put 1/1 counters on other creatures for each white. Now we're probably most usually going to be doing this for green white for 4, so it'll come in as a 5/5 itself with counters on it, and we'll be putting a 1/1 counter on 2 other creatures, so it's a very nice pairing with Botanical Brawler. Finally, we are running 4 of the new Captivating Crossroads so that we can claim that we're using some new cards. Now note, I am only running 22 lands in this deck. The reason being is that 4 is our top cards in this deck. We have ways of finding more cards by putting counters on the Dusk Legion Duelist, and really we only need to get to 3 mana to be effective, as long as we get to 4 at some point in the future. So I'm hoping that this is not going to be a decision I regret. Let's have some games and see how we get on. Okay, let's put some counters on some things. Why are we being played against number 394? That doesn't seem that fair to me. I think I'll be mono red with these sleeves. Vanilla. Crystal Grotto. Hard 1. Nothing given away. We'll get the Brawler out, because then we can play the other one. We won't play Arwen and probably until we've got 4 mana. Obviously got the option for Ossification, but I doubt something very scary is going to come down on turn 2. Black. Okay. Good start. No removal. Black. What is this mono black? Nazgul. Fine. We've got all of our ossifications, so I think our plan of attack is use our 3-turn clock and hope they keep trying to drop 1 creature. Like maybe a Sheldred now would be fine. Hey, they're so predictable. I would have liked to land at some point, but yeah, and 1 more Sheldred, go on. 1 more Sheldred for the win. Just not the 5-drop one. What is the Grey Havens? 1 mana among legendary creature cards in your graveyard. So that is also a non-coloured land for them. I suppose they could have Gix's Command now, but at least we'd keep one of our Brawlers. And we might draw a land to play Elspeth, which would win even if they got rid of 1 Brawler. At sorcery speed. Just play another 4-drop Sheldred, go on. Do it for me. That's unfortunate. And like Liliana or something. Cool Somnophage. That's interesting. Right. Let's have one of these, shall we? You can't remove the Brawler for one.
I will put an end to this misery. Have courage.
Good game, number 394. Alright. Toppled Mythic, and now on to Philly Cheesesteak. Okay, we're on the draw this time. 2 lands again, let's hope we draw some more. That's nice. We'll wait and see what colour. I think it's going to be white, but I suppose we're in no rush to play it. Why is it redefaulted my lands? I think we'll play this into whatever's going on here. Okay, 5 colour humans. Let's make Gwenna more expensive. We haven't got removal for the Rathadrabic, so maybe we need to make that more expensive. The problem is they can play Sheldred if we don't. Yeah, we'll just do this. So we kind of want to be able to play 2 creatures this turn, so let's do... To be fair, we could just give her flying and attack this, but then Elspeth will die to Rathadrabic, which is less than ideal. Let's do the fall. Okay, right, that's good. And then Botanical Brawler. If they get Joda down and we don't have removal, it's a bit sad. This could be blue, black. No, they can't actually play Joda. Too much white and green in the deck. Aragorn is also a bit painful. That's okay. You can have a 7/7. Okay, so do we play? I mean, we're gonna want. Our 5/5 indestructible to be getting in there. If they block with that, they still can't play their Joda. Thought they would block with this and take it back as a 2/2. Still no. I guess they'll play the Gwenna instead of Sheldred, so they can eventually play this Joda. Yeah. We might end up taking. Oh. So we can give this indestructible. That'd be a 4/4. No, I think we just let this through. As much as that hurts. Do we kill Rathadrabic? I think so. Then so they can play their Joda. This will have to tap, which means hold on, 2, 8. They can't play Joda and Sheldred unless they top a land. We do need a blocker, so maybe Arwen's a good blocker. Should have played Ozolith because that's what we're going to do, I think. Actually, no, maybe we'll. Invasion. Nice. Oh shit, yeah, they untapped those, weren't I? Thankfully they still only have... Oh, we just die, don't we? If we do like this... Then she gains lifelink, and then we save her with this. Okay. So we need to attack with both lifelinkers. Oh, actually, not both, just one.
So long as I am by your side, you will be protected. Spread your wings.
Wait, what? We hadn't lost. We hadn't won, I mean. Oh man, they should have kept going. That's just impatience. Okay. I actually got a bit surprised with the amount of thinking needed to do for that last game. I didn't play this deck to think. It's going to be expensive with the old pain lands, but we've got to take this into this if we can do it. It's such a nice start. Ah, you haven't got cut down. Okay, hopeless nightmare. I'm afraid it'll have to be either Ajani that goes. I'll get rid of that. Sadly, this is going to be tapped, so there's nothing we can do this turn. Yeah, see now is when it's good because they don't get their extra token. So they can block with the Bowmaster, but yeah, they don't want to. Okay, so at least we're going to trigger our Gobakhan. So will they play One Ring or will they play Sheldred? One Ring? No? Okay. We'll play this first. Got our 1/1 here. Attack like this. Good. Finally triggered it. This can block Sheldred, which is good. Yeah, can't do much about that this turn. Okay, it's got to be Duelist, I think. Got to find ourselves an Ossification, haven't we? Otherwise we're doomed. And we actually triggered Bowmasters, which was not my intention. could be in trouble if we don't find an Ossification. They can't really attack, but they don't really need to. In a minute we're going to be using... Oh, okay. I was going to say we'll be using Arwen just for the lifelink, but... No. Okay, so we've got a good lifelink now. I think we have to play this. See if we can find an Ossification. Sadly can't take either of those. I think we'll just go like this. Extra life. We can still protect it with the light shield array. That's just 9 life, which is worth having. And then we'll have a look in their hand. Probably just a land if they did that, yeah. So they can draw 2 now, which is really sad for us. We've got to get rid of this fucking Sheldred. We have to protect that. It means that we can block anything. Yeah, they didn't. So let's do this and then give it flying. Let's draw one. We can afford to with this life now. Oh, the pain actually of these. Maybe it's not even worth doing it. So technically this is a 2-turn clock, but we have to kill Gobakhan because we can't risk them drawing a removal. Okay. So let's just fight her into one of these Bowmasters, shall we? Don't think we want to burn the Siege Veteran into Sheldred because this is our win con. Whereas getting rid of Bowmasters is actual tangible value, gains us some life. Let's do this, and then we can attack with the Duelist. Biggest issue for us would be if they draw more of the one ring, to be honest. Okay, that's over half their life gone. Let's try and get it to the point we can attack with this, shall we, as well? So the Dusk Legion Duelist and the Veteran are going to get another counter. They're actually paying to scry with that. Do you know what? I think our opponent's deck would be really good. I like the end, it's really nice, but I don't think you should be running the Bowmaster's main deck now. They can gain a load of life, but they need 2 removal spells, which is possible in 6 cards for Siege Veteran. Okay, that'll definitely get them 1. But can they find? They won't have 2 for 3 mana. Ah, just another copy of the 1 ring. Okay, that's nice, I suppose. You can sack it, just get another copy. That is just a way of drawing more. I think we'll lose life at this point, rather than give them life. It's only 4, that stops them gaining a besiege. Ah, about flipping time. We only had to go through 19 cards to find our first Ossification. Put them here so it can attack. The Dusk Legion Duelist is going to get 1 anyway. I know that we can't damage them, but we can put counters on all of our things. They obviously won't block. This is where this card is so good. Another Arwen. You kill one of these, it just means we can reuse it. So they need 1 rings now for the rest of the time to keep them alive. Okay, that's pretty good. That gets rid of that and that. Fair play. They probably got another Sheldred as well. Okay, no they don't, or they would have used it before they did that. Unfortunately we have to pop that now. Thankfully they didn't have a removal for Veteran. So we'll just lose life again, I think. They can't have 2 15 drops, and we're going to gain a load next time. Yeah, that 1 ring gone. So let's draw. That feels good, man. That feels good. Okay, we've had a right variety of games so far. It shows that Alchemy can actually be interesting again, amazingly. We'll put this on white. I mean, we could have waited and played all of our other lands first, but what? This is a change for the books. 5 lands at the top 8. Hardly running any lands. Okay, Gruul. What are we seeing with Gruul? Gruul ramp. Okay, we'll play this and get it ticking up. We can always double ossify next turn if something dangerous comes along. Like that. Very dangerous for us. Forest cycling? What is this? We've drawn both copies of our Ajani, that's beautiful. We'll get rid of you. I don't think we'll care about the Caryatid. We'll just remove whatever big thing the Caryatid lets them play. Although I suppose once they get close to 7, we definitely don't want the Italy coming down, so... Could be time to remove it. I've got black in there as well. Can't stop them getting to 7 land now anyway, so let's just go big. See what comes. It is Italy. At least we're bigger than Italy, so what did they get from us? The Ozolith. Okay, not that helpful for them. 5/5 haste, also not that helpful for them. Oh, nice. There's an answer. We'll just pretend like we had it all along. Resolves Italy, very swiftly loses. Sweet, even without the best run out. Alright. Fripon. We're now in the Diamond 1 League. We'll definitely go and hope for another land, because the thing is, we've got 3 lands, so if we can play 3 before we play this, yeah, 3 turns, okay. But we've got a 1, a 2 and a 3 drop, so we have to hope, I think. I'm amazed no one else is playing this deck. 1 red. Phoenix Chick. Ooh. Nah, because we could not have a creature, depending on what removal they've got. Always better to have a look first. Lightning Strike can go. That's not as good for 4, is it? I can't play these next turn, which is nice. So just the scam. Okay, we did not draw a land, but do we Gil-galad? I can't remove this presently. We should attack first and see what happens. The problem is, if we attack and they block, we haven't got anywhere to put this counter. Okay, we got that to 1. So if they play their 3-drop dude, they're probably going to want to attack with it. But if they do, they know we're flipping Gobakhan, so maybe they won't. Okay, they will. They have no fear. We need a land for this, don't we? I think we just play this. Sadly, the 4 isn't that helpful here. The thing is, if they block with a Scamp, it's really good for us, because we get counters on both of these. If they don't, it's good for us because we get the invasion. So this is just a good attack for us. Whereas if we'd attack with both, they could block the Duelist and we end up in bad land. Now we've got a 3/3, so they have to play 2 things to get their Godric through. I think we would trade. I guess they could Lightning Strike this. Well, let's just block like that, shall we? Or maybe we block like that. We die because that had 7 power. I mean, can't stop that. That's very nice. Good deck. We did as much as we could there, but With the slight land screw, couldn't quite get there. Alright. Pet track. Annoying to lose the mono red really, but if it doesn't, I think we were on the draw and it doesn't quite run out, then maybe we weren't even on the draw. Yeah, I think we were on the play because they played the chick after we, yeah. But yeah, if it doesn't run out quite as you need, it can be bad. Black, white, what do we reckon here? Abzan, maybe it's an Abzan Pigs deck? I would love it if it was. Please be Abzan Pigs. Please don't be Abzan Absent. Okay, so this is where, if we weren't against open black mana, I would play this, but because we are, it has to be this. Because look, they're sat with the go for the throat, they were holding it open. That doesn't bother us too much, although it does mean our Ossification isn't great. Conjuring, we'll just get rid of that. That's the obvious choice. We will take the obvious choice. Now they can play their pigs and be happy. Why is it this Forge Fire? They want the pigs. I don't know, don't get it. This must be a go for the throat, right? Oh man. Alright, go on in. No. Why didn't you play one of your pigs? What am I missing? So they could Grotto, pay 4 and kill this. If they do, we'll just play as Elspeth and start getting white soldiers. Looks like that might be what's happening. Yep. Because this can kill Gobakhan next turn on its own if they tap out. This Planeswalker's really gone up in my estimation. Interesting to run when you're not running much legendary stuff, or not that we can see. Ugh, some more nothing. Alright, let's try. Should have played this before we did that, but it'll still get its counter actually because it's gonna. This is gonna get one put on it now. Oh, if it's the first time I put that, oh no, it won't go. Okay. I just read this card for the first time properly. You know, when you look at a card and it's got that much text, you're sort of like, on one counters, yeah, okay. Like, I didn't actually read it properly. First little pig can pay 2 and get rid of Light Shield Array. So we'll sack it in case they got, I don't know what they could possibly have. Okay, so we'll definitely play this now. And then they both get more. And we'll swing like that. We're not going to ossify this, it doesn't even have its ability anymore. And our things have trample or flying. So we can give one of the others flying next turn and win if there's nothing big and bad happens. If they just try and play this out or something, they've only got 6. The third little pig. I'm proud of them for trying, the pigs. Okay, they've actually got one that can exile artifact or enchantment. So that means that we can't ossify. So we've got 14 in the air if we give one flying, right? Yeah. 13 in the air. Oh, this doesn't actually get through. Why did I think I had 14? Because I thought, don't know, I'm stupid. No, we won't trade for the pigs. We'll just do 13. Odds that they can remove all of this is low anyway, right? They're probably just going to play Forge Fire. I feel bad if they've got a big removal spell. This is the beginning of your upkeep, not that there's anything in their graveyard. They can have our Dusk Legion Jewel. Oh, it's from your own graveyard only. Just attack. Get this over with. Okay, nice to try, but I think we could do a better pigs deck. Alright, Dapper Dan. What are you going to be playing? Can I not go first? No, let's go second. Bullshit. Shit. Especially not against that. Legends deck. Ah, it's gotta be the combo deck, isn't it? Let's have a look. Yeah, it is. Gotta get rid of this one, make their combo slightly harder to assemble. Because this, and Ratadravik, and they've got their combo. At least they're a bit light on removal. Oh man. They've got a second Elas, so... Well, they could throw it away. Then we can attack, because they won't rock with it. Oh, we need to run that on the... Oh, but they've got... Skrelv. If what they just drew is a Ratadravik, we're dead. Can we find another Ossification? No. I mean, these are both great cards, but against this combo, all that matters is removal. I know you're not blocking unless this is an Elas core as well. Which it is not. To be fair, if it's a Ratadravik, they still need to play the Boromir or the Ratadravik first. So we have a little bit of time to beat them down. And this is going to let this fight Skrelv. It fucking is one as well. So next turn, we can't get rid of Skrelv. How have they got it all? How have they got it all? They've only looked at 12 cards. This is absolute bullshit. So we ossify, they just tap Skrelv. They've assembled it so fast we can't stop them. Because this, yeah. Anything we can do. There's nothing we can do. Oh, one turn in it. If we'd have put this down earlier, but I guess we wouldn't have. Good game. Can't stop it. Ah, that is so unlucky. The fact they assembled that 3-turn combo in 12 cards is amazing for them, but also we were 1 turn off breaking it. But not only a 3, it's a 4-card combo really, because they need the scroll for the 1 removal to not work, so yeah. Alright. Mike G. We can't get that unlucky again. This is nice. It's not got any green in it at all, but it's nice. No way of putting counters on anything. No way of playing this. But against the green land, we play the Duelist out. And hope it's mono green, because then we can put all their expensive stuff into exile, and then exile whatever's big. Oh, it's fucking Ivy Ciceroach. Well, I'm glad you're on the draw with that rubbish. Okay. I guess we want to get rid of the shore up so we can get rid of the Phyresis Roach. I've not got any other creatures. Thankfully this has Vigilance, which is also the bane of Phyresis Roach. They could bounce this and then attack, so they trigger the Phyresis Roach once. Yeah, but we can then get rid of this, which we will do happily. And we'll play this because we've got multiples now. We've got enough mana to pay for their counters. Yeah, you can draw. You found another one? Of course you did. Which of these do we play? I guess if they have a way of bouncing this, that's either's good, because we could get rid of the way of bouncing it. We want this down because we want to be able to attack with it and start putting counters on and drawing. I think they're going to struggle to toxic us to death now. Famous last words, but because they haven't even got enough that this is a hard counter. Okay, you got some kind of trampoly pump spell. Just a bounce spell. Okay. Okay, good. I'll play the... I love beating Phyresis Roach more than I like beating the One Ring, because it's only good if you have it in your opening hand and you're on the play. Otherwise, look how bad it is. Okay, a quick look at the stats of the deck. I'm only going to really look at the latest version because I really messed up the build early on. And yeah, as you can see in the video, we only lost a couple. 5-2 is pretty darn good. We lost against the weird Margie thing when they assembled their combo like immediately, and we lost against Mono Red when everything went right for them and wrong for us, but otherwise it went well. And I think this deck is definitely going to be a ladder climber in Alchemy, especially in best of 1. Maybe in best of 3 it would struggle because it's easy-ish to sort of start loading upon removal or board wipes, and we don't have loads of counters to that. But with the Invasion of Gobakhan and the Arwen, I actually believe that this deck is powerful now. Like, I really do, and I think it is, while it's not using any new cards and it thus makes it slightly boring, it's still a fun deck to play. It really is a fun deck to play. So finally in this video, all I'd like to do is, I got this deck idea really because I played a couple of offline games with one of my friends, Mer, so respect to you for giving me the idea for the deck, but otherwise appreciate everyone watching to this point. If you did like the video and you aren't subscribed, please do subscribe. It will mean a lot to me. But otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye for now.